A woman chosen to stand against the forces of darkness has lost everything she has ever loved.
Buffy.
But no matter how far she runs,
I wish we knew where she was.
no matter where she hides,
You know how to do stuff. I don't. Not anymore.
she'll never escape her destiny. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. A brand new season begins September 29th, the WB's new Tuesday. She ran away and left everything behind. This week, the season premiere.
Buffy.
No matter how far she runs,
I wish we knew where she was.
no matter where she hides,
You know how to do stuff. I don't. Not anymore.
she'll never escape her destiny. A new season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Hello, everybody. We're back. And welcome to this week's edition of Slade the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James. And yes, we are back. Our third season, the third season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Time is flying, Jeremy.
Well, we're on. I mean, what would you say? Halfway through this season, we'll be halfway through the series.
Yeah.
So, that's how math works.
The math is mathing.
The math is mathing. How were your holidays, James?
Not too bad. Can't complain. How about yours?
Pretty good. I got some good loot from Santa Claus.
That's good.
He was a good fat man this year.
That's good.
Yeah.
Speaking of good fat men, you sent me something.
What? No, I didn't. Wait a minute. You called me a fat, you bastard. I did send you something. I sent you a Christmas present. It was just something I kind of saw last minute, and I was like, "Oh, this is James all day." So we decided to save it for today. To you could open live on the return broadcast. So why don't we do that?
I did. I agreed to hold off on my childlike excitement and
I see that.
open it today. I do know it's a book of some sort.
Right.
Let's see.
Wasn't any way of concealing that, really.
There wasn't. It is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Demons of the Hellmouth, a guide for slayers by Rupert Giles.
Yes, indeed.
I
thought, wow, an in-universe book by the character, James's favorite character. He's got
very nice. I had no idea this existed.
Nor did I. When I came across it, I was like, what?
Wow.
And that's when I was like, oh yeah, James has got to have this.
Very nice. A foreword by Anthony Stewart Head himself. Wow.
Right?
This is very nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You are welcome, James. You are quite welcome. You are a fine co-host and a scholar and a gentleman, and I wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you as well. I will put this on my bookshelf next to my copy of The Giving Tree and a
Penthouse Collection.
No, actually you know this because I've mentioned it to you before. I made a big push to go completely digital a while ago with music and everything, and I got rid of a bunch of books. I only kept a handful. So this will go up there next to the handful that I kept. And some of the ones I kept were The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, and A Die Hard Christmas, which is a illustrated retelling of Die Hard in the style of The Night Before Christmas.
Yeah. I can't do I have a massive collection of books, vinyl, etc. I can't go the whole digital route. It's just not for me, sir.
See if I can get a decent picture of this.
That's quite lovely.
That is. That's sexy. That is
Sexy.
sexy.
Sexy boy.
All right. Well,
All
very nice. Again,
Now-
thank you.
You are welcome, sir. Let me address the elephant in the room. Obviously my camera has changed, my angling and whatnot, and I have a green screen behind me that's not being used. Had some lighting issues and whatnot. I didn't have time to futz with it too much this week. Hopefully next week I will have that resolved, and I will put some type of offensive pornography behind me or something while we record. No, I'll figure out something to put back there and just having fun, you know.
You should figure out how to route my video to your green screen.
Okay. We could do that. But I don't think so.
I mean, it could just be me, but the more of me, the better.
Right. Okay. So anyway, James, I failed to mention, because it's been so long. We will be diving into, ladies and gentlemen, season 3, episode 1, Anne, today. Yes, we will. Season 3. Wow.
Season 3 already. Yes. How about if I give you some tasty dates and deets, Jerry?
Do that for us. Make them tasty and delicious.
I will. As previously mentioned, we will be diving into Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 3, episode 1, the 35th episode of the series overall. And just some season 3 overall behind the scenes tidbits. Not a lot going on. But being that this is the 3rd season, we do get a revamped opening sequence that adds Seth Green to the regular cast, and includes the official Buffy the Vampire Slayer logo for the first time, and introduces the remastered theme song that will be heard in the opening credits for the rest of the series.
Indeed.
Our episode this week, as previously stated, is Anne. Our episode director is He Who Shall Not Be Named, and our episode credited writer is also He Who Shall Not Be Named. Our original air date was September 29th, 1998 on the now defunct WB network, and the episode pulled in 4.7 million households when it first aired. That is our Nielsen rating. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest stars this week include Christine Sutherland as Joyce, Julia Lee as Lily, who fans may remember previously appeared in the first season as Chantrell. She was a member of the vampire worshipping cult that Buffy's 5th grade crush was a member of. She is playing the same character in this episode. She has just changed her name, and she will go on to make several appearances on Angel in the future,
In which she was brutally murdered. Or is that not? No, did I make that up?
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Oh wait, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I think I'm thinking of someone. Yeah, I don't think it's her.
Carlos Jacket as Ken, Mary Pat Green as Joan, Chad Todd Hunter as Ricky, and Larry Bagby III as Larry. Our episode synopsis this week reads: Far from home, Buffy takes on a demonic force threatening to destroy inner city kids living on the streets.
Wow. Why do they have to be inner city?
I mean,
in the inner city, but
I mean they are in the inner city.
I don't think these particular demons were too picky about where these kids came from, but
probably not.
My synopsis says Buffy, living on her own in a big city, assists a girl whose boyfriend has mysteriously vanished. Back in Sunnydale, Buffy's friends do their best to battle the forces of evil without her. So yeah, they pretty much just there's no sense in recapping. We could just go right.
We'll just skip right to monsterology. Yeah, we're fine.
Yep, we're good. Everything's good.
Jeremy, why don't you dive us into the episode?
I don't think so. I think I want you to take us into the cold open.
Do you want me to? Okay.
I do.
Let me pull up my notes here.
No, I'm kidding. I can take us into it.
No, I'll do it. I got it. Not a problem. We open as all season openers should, and one of the Sunnydale cemeteries. Sorry.
Easy for you to say.
And we see that a young man by the name of Andrew Holick, according to the gravestone, is rising from his grave as a vampire. And we soon discover that Willow, Xander, and Oz have taken up Slayer duties in Buffy's absence. Unfortunately, they're not very good at it, and he escapes. And they commiserate about the start of the new school year, which is apparently the next day. And they wonder where Buffy is and how she's doing, and if she even knows that school is starting tomorrow. And we cut to a beach at sunset, it would appear. And Buffy's standing on the beach. And as she's standing there, a pair of arms wrap around her, and we pan out and we see that it's Angel. And they have a brief exchange, and Buffy wakes up and gets out of bed, and we see that she's living in a little rundown apartment.
Oh, sorry. Thought it was a crowd.
We see that she's living in a little rundown apartment, and we know it's LA because we see some LAPD police cars across the intersection from the window she's looking out of. And our credits roll. That's our cold open.
Yeah. Okay. So before we even get started, I've already got something to bring up. So she's wanting to get away. She had to run away after last season with everything going on. She, had to kill her lover, and she's wanted for murder. Her mother's basically thrown her out, yada, yada. Why would she go back to the city where she literally spent the first 16 years of her life, where her father lives, where probably everyone she ever knew before Sunnydale lives? It just doesn't seem to me like a very smart, she's trying to disappear. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it doesn't seem like LA would be the smartest place to go, considering that's where she's from.
Well, I agree, but also something I took into consideration, because I thought that too, but I would venture to say that LA is probably very much like any other major metropolitan city, in which you've got LA proper, the city, like here you've got Chicago proper, and then you've got the outlying areas. It's still Chicago, but it's a suburb of Chicago, River North, Lakeview, but it's not actually in the city proper. My guess is that's how LA is set up, and Buffy and her entire world pre-Sunnydale was probably in one of those LA suburbs,
Yeah, I would. So, I don't know. I'm just saying, for me, if I was trying to disappear, I would not go back to a place that I had ever been ever, that anyone would possibly know me. It just seems, of course she is a teenager, so,
Right.
probably going somewhere
Right.
that she still felt somewhat at ease and comfortable, I guess.
Right. Right.
Although she has taken up residence in a crack house.
I don't know if we ever see that it's actually that bad.
Well, she leaves at one point, and we see a guy dead in the hallway with a needle in his arm.
No,
So,
we don't.
oh, we
No,
don't. We don't see that.
We don't. We don't
Oh,
see.
okay. Okay. Um, so we come back from commercial, and it's the next day, and school has started up in Sunnydale. Willow's in the hall, and who shows up but Oz? And she's like, "The fuck, homeboy, you fucking, I thought you graduated, or like, why are you here?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, you remember when I didn't graduate?" And she's like, "No, I don't fucking remember that." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't graduate." So yeah, he's a super smart dude, but he's pretty much a fuck off at school. So he didn't graduate the following. Well, he could have graduated had he gone to summer school, but he also did not do that. So
One of the funniest lines in the episode is their exchange when you mentioned it here. He was like, yeah, remember when I didn't graduate? And then Willow's like, yeah, that was what summer school was for. And he was like, yeah, remember when I didn't go to that?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And so she's like, "But you're so smart, and you test off the charts and everything." And he's just like, "Yeah, but I just didn't want to do that." So he's
He's like,
having to
stop.
repeat.
He's like, stop hounding me, bitch. And then he backhands her.
Whoa! But she catches his hand, snaps his wrist, and then immediately fucking snaps his neck, and
Right.
Oz has passed away. But no, he so yeah, he's gonna have to repeat his senior year. So, which obviously I feel like they did this because they were like, oh shit, well now that Oz is part of the crew, we need him to be. We don't need him. We don't want him to being ahead of them, like not in school all day while they are in school. And I'm like, when you started the character, why didn't you just fucking make him the same age? Like, why did
Right.
you start him a year ahead anyway?
M-
You know?
My my assumption, and I don't have anything to back this up because I didn't look into it, and I've never heard anything about it. But my guess would be that Oz becoming a regular character is very similar to Spike becoming a character, where
Kind of by accident. Yeah.
right, where perhaps he wasn't meant to be around more than a few episodes, but his popularity with the fan base kind of necessitated his being brought on as a regular character.
Yeah, and I will say, I was going to make note of this later, but this is the first. As of this season, he's now in the opening credits. So,
Yeah, yeah, I said that.
oh, you did?
Yeah, it was
I,
part
that's
of.
probably when I was ignoring you. He no,
It was part of my season 3 overall behind the scenes.
yeah, I was definitely ignoring you at that point. Um,
Wow.
actually, I was on mute and I was eating a Three Musketeers bar. But anyway, um, uh,
It's
so
good
yeah,
for the listeners to know nothing's changed over the last month.
oh no, not at all. We're getting right back into our normal stupidity. So yeah, they have that conversation. They go off. Giles is apparently he's been searching for Buffy all summer because that she's been gone. And he's got a lead now that he was on the phone. He's got a lead now in Oakland, I believe he said. So he's going to jump the first flight to Oakland to go.
I want to interrupt you real quick and backtrack to this scene with Willow and Oz because it's also intercut with us with bits of scene for Willow and Cordelia and Willow and Xander and Xander and Cordelia. And I don't it looks to me, and tell me what you think. I think it was done in one long tracking shot.
It looked like it, but I thought,
Like
God damn, they because you got to get a perfect take on everything to do a long tracking shot like that.
Right, but
So I thought it's either clever editing or they did it all in one shot.
I think I couldn't find anything about it, but it really looks to me like they did it in one long tracking shot.
Yeah,
Which
because
is
that was
damn impressive.
something. Yeah, well, yeah, because that was something that got really made famous by ER, the show ER. They would have long, like 15-minute long single tracking shot deals with multiple people and things, and I was like, that takes some fucking that's impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Giles is heading off to hop the first plane to Oakland to go check on this lead. Apparently, he's had several other leads throughout the summer that didn't pan out, but this one is something about a younger girl fighting vampires. So he's hopeful that this might be the Buffster. And we see that Xander and Cordelia, they haven't seen each other yet. They haven't seen each other all summer. Because Cordelia runs into Willow, and she's been in some, I don't know, some rich person vacation all summer, and they're both very clearly can't wait to see each other, but they haven't thus far. And when they finally meet up, they're very awkward. They say a few words to each other, and then they both walk away angrily, basically. So shit's not perfect in the Cordelia Xander front. Then we cut to a diner, I guess you could call it. They're in LA, and it's called Helen's Kitchen. And who is working as a waitress but Buffy, or as her name tag says, Anne. And she goes up to a table, and there's a couple of homeless-looking teens there. And she's taking their order, and they're all over each other, and they're annoying. Let's just be honest. They're being very annoying. And he like pulls out this pocket full of like change. He's like, "What can we get for that?" And I would have been like, "You can get the fuck out with that. It's what you can get." But they ask something about, I think he says, or she says, cake.
Lily asks if they can get cake.
Yeah, and what's he say? Don't be stupid. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, he's like, don't be stupid. We have to eat healthy. And I was like, dude.
Yeah, I was like,
dude.
Wow. And he's like, how about pie? And I was like,
right.
Fucking hell. So Buffy's like,
well, pie's got fruit in it.
Yeah, and Buffy's like, well, we have peach pie. There might actually be some peach in it. And so I guess that's what they're getting. And he like shows, he's like, oh, hey, look at this. Look, check this out. And they blew all their money on this, on like a matching tattoo where they put their arms together and it says Lily and Ricky. And then it says are idiots underneath it. But so Buffy's like, oh yeah, cool. Good for you, dumb shits. And the girl starts questioning Buffy. She's like, don't I know you? And da-da-da-da. Buffy's like, no, you don't, and fuck off. And Buffy leaves, and she goes up to the another waitress there, and she's like, I'm not feeling good. Can you cover for me? And the old lady's like, yeah, sure. And Buffy just immediately takes her. She's already like taken her like
apron.
Apron off before the lady even says yes. She's just assuming, look, old bitch, I'm leaving. So, you kind of get the idea that Buffy does recognize this girl and is like, oh shit, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So that's kind of why she bailed out. And so she's kind of roaming the streets a little bit later. And she passes this elderly, like homeless looking woman who's like slumped in a doorway. And all she's saying is, I'm no one. I'm no one. And Buffy's like, oh, okay. That's all right. That's cool. And we cut to Sunnydale, and Giles is, or no, I'm sorry. I just, yeah, sorry. Jumped up backwards to my notes. That night, Lily finds Buffy on this. They kind of. It looks like they run into each other, but I have a feeling like Lily's been kind of searching for Buffy, and runs into her, and that's when she kind of says she's calling her Anne. She's like Anne, Anne, and then she says Buffy, and that's when Buffy stops and she's like, oh fuck, and she's like, yeah, I thought it was you, and they talk about the deal that you were talking about, where it was the episode where she was part of that vampire worshiping cult and all that. And Buffy's like, yeah, I fucking remember, you dumb bitch. And I've already saved you once. What do you want? And she's like, they talk for a while about their lives in Sunnydale and whatnot. And Lily's just a pathetic loser. I mean, she just bounces from guy to guy who takes care of her. And she's just sad. And she's like, oh, hey, there's this rave and we should go to it. And but I don't have any money. And so basically she's saying, hey, you want to go out, and you pay? That's basically what she's saying. And,
yeah.
And Buffy's like, yeah, not so much. And she feels bad though. She's like, but here, I've got the money. I'll give you the money, and you and Ricky can go. And at just then, this old man walks past him, kind of bumps into him. And he's just in a daze and kind of just strange looking. And he's saying the same thing that old woman was saying. He's like, I'm no one. I'm no one. And Buffy she's like, what the fuck? And he gets out in the street and just kind of stops and is all dazed and confused and goofy. And here comes a car, of course, barreling down the street, doing 300 miles an hour for no apparent reason. And so Buffy drops her purse and shit and fucking runs out there and shoves him out of the way. And then she gets fucking housed by this car, just fucking smashes up the windshield, flies up in the air, the whole 9 yards, hits the ground and is pretty much fine. And all the passersby and come running to her aid, and the guy who hit her comes out and everything. And
when he realizes she's fine, he dumps gasoline on her.
Right? And he lights a match.
And lights her on fire.
Yeah, and she's like, "Oh, why did you do it? What the fuck?" And then he pulls out a stick out of his jacket and a marshmallow, and starts roasting a marshmallow while she's burning alive. And I'm like, what am I watching right now? And then I realized it was Faces of Death. So, So anyway, all these people are crowding around, and Buffy's like, I got to get the fucks out of his before they figure out that I just got hit by a car doing 300 miles an hour and I don't have a scratch on me. So she goes bailing, and we run into this creepy fucker named Ken, who we've seen kind of before, where he's passing out flyers to all the seemingly downtrodden, hopeless loser fucking homeless teens and shit. Well, he runs into her, and they run into each other, and he gives her one of those flyers and is giving her this fucking bullshit spiel. It's called The Family Home, and he's like, you should come, and blah blah blah. Gives her that bullshit spiel. Sounds like a crazy religious cult, but we'll come to find out it's even worse. So she's like, yeah, okay, thanks. And then for some reason, she just punches him right in the Adam's apple, and he starts choking and spewing blood up, and she just fucking walks away like, bitch.
Yeah.
And she's like, choke on that, Ken.
Yeah. The show it's taken a really weird turn
here
in the third season.
Yeah. Well, then we cut to the Bronze, which, God, I don't think we saw the Bronze in the last 4 episodes of last season, did we?
Nah, it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
But we now are in the Bronze, and Xander and Willow and Oz are kind of moping around and listening to the music of Belly Love, which is I assume they're a real group.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're playing, and they're all basically kind of talking about how terrible their slaying technique is. And then Xander, who is pissed at Cordelia and vice versa, he realizes they should use Cordelia as bait. which might lead to better results for their vamp hunting. And I'm like, wait, why don't we just use Xander as bait? Because if it goes wrong and he gets killed, there's no loss. If Cordelia gets killed, I mean, I love Cordelia. I don't like Xander, so we should be using Xander as bait.
100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah. And Giles returns home from the little quick trip to Oakland, and it was unsuccessful. He's come to Buffy's house to speak with Mom Buffy, who, she's having just a rough time of it, of course. She's a very involved mother, as we know. She's been in at least 30% of the episodes, so she's incredibly involved. So here we go, James. Here we go. Here's the fucking scene, the first scene that pissed me off in this episode. So she's really down, but blah 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 blah. And Giles says something to the effect of, you shouldn't blame yourself, for this whole thing. And this fucking cunt looks him dead in the eyes and says, "Oh no, I don't blame myself. I blame you." And
bitch.
I wanted to reach to the screen and smack the fucking taste out of her mouth, because I was like, you have some set of fucking balls on you to say that Giles is at fault for this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because she says to him, she also says, you took her from me and everyone lied to me and you hid all this from me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, because look how you fucking reacted when you found out the truth, you stupid bitch. You told your fucking, is she 17 at this point, Buffy?
Yeah.
You told your 17-year-old daughter as she was leaving the house to literally save the world
by killing the person she loves,
the greatest love of her life. Okay. You told her as she was leaving to do that if she did do that, that she was not to come home. Okay. Those are the facts. And this fucking bitch, I can even see it on Giles' face. He's like, do I snap her neck now, or do I allow her to spew this verbal fucking forward just to hear how stupid she's going to sound? And he just allowed, because he's Giles, he's a good guy, and he just allows her to puke this shit out. And I know we've always been kind of hard on Joyce, or at least I have. But now I really hate this bitch. Like, I really, truly do. Not the actress. I love her.
Right.
I'm talking the character. I fucking hate this character.
Literally, like, I'm not even, no joke. Like, she said that, and literally my reaction was what I just said here. I was like, this bitch.
Right?
What?
Right.
Like, and to Giles's credit, instead of like snapping her neck right there, he kind of lays it back on her. He's like, I didn't make Buffy the person she is.
Right. Right. And that's a double entendre, really, because he's saying, number one, obviously I didn't turn her into the Slayer. That was fate.
Right.
And number two, I didn't raise her. You did.
Right.
You fucking bitch. And you're never around. And she's been raised in a broken fucking home. Her father has been in one episode in 3 fucking seasons. So how about you two go fuck yourselves with cacti? How about that?
Right. And that's exactly how.
Sorry.
And that's exactly how I read Giles's line too. Like, there was a double meaning there. Like, I didn't make her the Slayer. That's fate. Like, not my fault. And two, like you just said, I didn't raise her. Like, she's from a broken home where she's never been supported in any sort of way
at all.
Like, and obviously, like, this is just our opinion as viewers, you and I. Other viewers may see it differently, but I don't feel like Buffy's ever gotten any real kind of support from her mom.
No, the bitch is never there. She's never
Right.
around.
Right.
Like,
And
I
when
get it that's a part of the show making, but it is what it is. The bitch is never around.
Right. And then when she does finally find out, like you said earlier, when she did finally find out what's going on with her daughter and why all these things are always happening, what does she do? She tells her, if you fucking leave the house to go save the world, don't fucking come back.
Right. Right. Exactly. So wait till next episode, bro. Holy fuck balls. Wait till you think this is bad. But this is just the beginning of this bullshit where everybody's shitting on Buffy. And dude, all I know is if I was dude, I'm fighting everybody. I'm jumping up in people's faces and I'll be like, I got this, Buffy. I got this. Because these fucking people, I swear. And I was going to also say, Giles has been the only adult in her life, at least since the beginning of this television show, since she's come to Sunnydale, who has been a supportive, loving, quality guiding force in her life.
Oh, yeah.
And this fucking bitch has the balls to fucking say this to him after he has spent the entire. Okay, I want to know this. How many fucking trips has this bitch taken out of town looking for Buffy? I'm going to go with 0. She's been sitting at home in a book club and fucking playing with fucking friends and shit and living her little gallery life while her daughter has been vanished. And Giles has been working his ass off, like pulling every fucking favor and clue he's got and traveling all over on his own dime looking for Buffy. Because why? Because he loves Buffy.
Right.
Loves Buffy like his own. Whereas fucking Joyce is just a useless deadbeat mother. And I'm sticking by that.
Yep.
She needs to have a stroke. That's all I'm saying.
Don't worry.
Okay. Anyway, that was a long rant, I know, but boy, I had to get it out. I had to get it out of my system.
But like this is like we've talked about it before, but this is like build up and icing on the cake. Like, you know, I hear other people talk about Buffy, and they heap praise on her. We love Joyce. Joyce is such a good mom. Yeah. I'm like, what? Are we even watching the same show?
Exactly. I'm like, if you're gonna sit there and worship Joyce and act like she's actually some good mother, I hope you don't have kids because you're probably a shitty fucking parent. And B, are we even watching the same fucking show? Because I don't think we are. No. Because even when Joyce is around, which as we've discussed is not very often, she is a horrible mother. Yeah. She's not supportive at all. All she's interested in is Buffy doing what she says for no real reason.
Right.
So fuck. I love Christine Sutherland. Don't get me wrong. Love her to death.
Yeah.
But Joyce Summers can go fuck herself.
Fuck that bitch.
Fuck that bitch. And a lot of this is to be blamed on the writers, quite frankly.
Oh, sure.
Because they could have made her a very powerful, strong force in Buffy's life, and they opted not to. Because I know they wanted to have the Giles character, but they could have had both.
They could have, right?
But for whatever reason, they chose this as, I guess, and I'm like, okay. So anyway, we cut back to LA now, and would you like to take over, James? Do you know where we are?
Yeah. Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong. We cut back to LA, and Lily shows up at the diner to speak to Buffy, and she tells her that Ricky's been missing for well over a day. And
oh wait, pause really quick.
Sure.
I wanted to ask you this earlier when the characters were first introduced. What do you think Ricky's last name is?
Nelson.
Oh, I was going to go with Bobby. But
I don't know.
Ricky,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that says about each of us. You went with the Talladega Nights reference, and I went with the
the Ozzy and Harriet,
Ozzy and Harriet.
which there's a whole bunch of young folk right now who might be listening to us who went. I'm sorry, Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy,
Who?
Ozzy. What? I thought her name was Sharon. What?
Yeah, Sharon.
Um. So yeah, I don't know what that says about each of us.
That we're both nerds.
um. So yeah, she tells Buffy that Ricky's been missing for well over a day, and she's worried about him. And Buffy kind of at first like doesn't want to hear it. She's
Well, she's clearly like, oh my God, how many times do I have to fucking save you?
Right.
Like, I so don't care about your dork loser boyfriend.
Right.
Please go away forever.
And she Lily eventually convinces Buffy to help her, and they end up going to a local blood bank that Lily and Ricky go to frequently to donate blood to make some extra cash. And according to the lady they talked to there, Ricky hasn't been there in the last few days,
And this bitch is suspect from like jump. Like, we come to find out some things, but like as soon as I saw this nurse or whatever she is, I'm like, suspect.
Right.
She's
Right.
just putting off that vibe.
So Lily and Buffy agree to kind of split up and individually check out some places that they frequent, and meet up at Buffy's apartment later. Then we cut to an abandoned building, and Buffy goes inside, and she's looking around, and she stumbles across a old man dead on the ground, and there's a bottle of drain cleaner next to him. And
isn't it the same? Am I wrong, or is it the same old man that she saved from getting hit by the car?
It is the same old man, yes.
Okay.
Which is initially, I'm guessing, why she goes over to check on him, because she recognizes him.
Okay.
So he's got the empty bottle of drain cleaner next to his head, and kind of intimating that he drank it. And
like, what a fucked up way to kill yourself.
Right.
Drink a bottle of bleach.
And she's kind of examining, for lack of a better word, the body, and she sees the tattoo on his forearm. It's Ricky's tattoo. That's the half a heart, and has Lily's name in it. The match to Lily's tattoo that they showed Buffy earlier. So this
clearly Ricky.
This dead old man is Ricky,
and he's like, what would you say, in the 70s?
He's about 80.
80. Okay.
Yeah.
Ricky was like 18, 19.
Right. Late teens, early 20s at most. Yeah. But yeah, Buffy does say, does tell Lily that this guy looked like he was about 80. So.
And the fucked up thing is, for whatever reason, she pours gasoline on the body and just lights it on fire.
Right. Like,
she's
what's the point?
Funeral up in here.
Right. Like, what's the point of that, Buff? Come on.
Right. I mean, what's with everybody burning shit this week?
Right. So we cut back to Buffy's apartment, and Lily's there, and Buffy shows up, and Buffy's all like, "Sorry, sis, your boo's dead."
Oh my God. Oh Jesus. This scene too, bro. But you go right ahead.
Lily's kind of refusing to believe it, and Buffy, tells her, the the weirdest thing about it is that this guy was like 80 years old. It was like something, you know, sucked the life right out of him. And Lily asks if it was vampires, and Buffy's like, no, vampires can't accelerate the aging process like that. And then Lily, this whore who has already had her life saved by Buffy once,
Yep.
proceeds to blame Buffy. She tells Buffy that it's her fault and she brought this here with her when she came to LA. And then she storms out of the apartment. And who does she run into? But our good friend, youth pastor Ken.
Yeah, creepy youth pastor Ken.
And they're talking, and he's all like, come to the family home, da 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 da. And he's
They
like,
have hamburger helper and molestation there.
right. He's like, if you don't like hamburger helper, we have tuna helper.
And if you don't like tuna helper, we also have molestation.
And if you don't like being molested, too bad.
Too bad, because you're now part of us. Now wear this cloth.
And he tells her that whoever told her Ricky was dead was telling her a tall tale, because Ricky's alive and well and staying with him at the family home. So Lily, of course, goes with Ken to the shelter, and at that point, we cut to Buffy having broken back into the blood bank after it's closed, and she's going through the files, and she finds Ricky's, and the word candidate is written in his file. So she starts.
Which, by the way, really quick, this is a goof 'em up.
Go ahead.
Did you happen to see his form, where she had written candidate?
What about it?
It says Sunnydale Blood Bank on it.
Yeah. So she starts going through other files and seeing the same thing, and then the lady from earlier shows up, and Buffy starts questioning her, and what did you do with them? And she
by
says,
questioning, we mean Buffy is beating this bitch's ass.
Yeah.
Like, she had a pair of vice grips and a blowtorch.
Mm-hmm.
It was not pretty.
It was like that scene in Hostel.
Yeah.
Where the guy takes the blowtorch to the Asian lady's face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It wasn't.
Yep. She gets her answer.
Yeah. So Buffy questions her, and she says she didn't do anything with them. She just gave their names to him. And Buffy's like, who the fuck is him? I'm not playing the pronoun game with you right now, bitch.
Yeah. And then she fucking burns her again with the blowtorch.
Right. So anyway, that leads Buffy to the family home center, and
Which, really quick, I forgot at the beginning of that scene when Buffy has broken into that blood bank, and that woman comes out and says, what are you doing? I love Buffy's line. She's like going through the files, and she's like, oh, I've just broke into your office and I'm going through your files. I loved that. It was good.
Something else funny in that scene, and I think it's funny because it's just so casual, is the lady's like, I'm going to call the cops. And Buffy just reaches over, not even paying attention, just rips the phone out of the wall.
Yeah.
And just keeps going about her business.
And then the bitch is like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not.
But it's so funny because it's just so nonchalant. She just reaches over, rips it out of the wall. Um. So, Buffy ends up finding Lily and Ken in one of the rooms in the family home center, and but before she can find out what's going on, Lily gets pulled into, there's a pool of this strange black goo on the floor, and Lily gets pulled inside of it, and
along with along no, I'm sorry. That doesn't happen yet.
And then Buffy and Ken start to kind of fight, and they end up both falling into the pool, and we see them fall through, and on the other side they crash down onto a floor. And Buffy kind of scrambles over to make sure Lily's okay, and meanwhile Ken
But she's not, because she has a compound fracture in her leg. There's bones sticking out, and she's like, "No, I'm not okay. I fell like fucking 15 feet on the concrete." And Buffy's like, "Don't be a bitch."
Right.
And
and then Lily's like, "But it hurts so bad," and then Buffy snaps her neck.
Yeah, she can't listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
She's like, all right, enough.
Right. And mumbles to herself something about how it was more humane than letting Lily suffer. With
She had to put her down.
Right. So she's checking on Lily, and kind of off camera you hear Ken complaining about his face, and we cut to Ken, and he pulls off his fake human face, and he's bitching about, do you know how long it takes to glue that thing on? And he's a demon underneath.
Which, to be fair, the millisecond you meet this character earlier in the episode,
something's off about
he's
him.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
If he's not a diddler, then he's a demon. Same thing.
Right. So he calls for the guards, and Buffy grabs Lily, and they try to escape, and the guards chase after them, and Buffy and Lily end up running into just a huge factory, and there's just, it looks like hundreds of presumably other missing runaway teens are working as slave labor in this factory.
Which we never... first of all, did we mention that they're now in another dimension when they went through that black pool?
Not yet, because it comes up in scenes later.
Yeah, so spoiler, we're in another dimension. But what the fuck are they doing?
I have no idea.
We never
explain it.
We never, they just have them doing things.
Yeah.
And it's like it's vital to their existence, the demons, but we don't see, I don't know if they have them licking stamps and envelopes forever. We don't know what they're doing, but they're doing things.
Yes. And there's guards around, and they're whipping them, and Ken and the other guards catch up to Buffy and Lily, and Ken knocks Buffy unconscious.
And we cut to one guy who's getting whipped, but he likes it.
He likes it.
He's like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, the guard cracks the whip on his back, and he's like, "Daddy!"
He's like, more. Right. I mean, no.
And then the guard's like, "Excuse me," and the kid that's getting whipped is like, "Nothing. I'm sorry."
Mum's the word.
Yeah, so Ken knocks Buffy unconscious, and then we cut back to Sunnydale, and you know what? I'll take this too.
Okay.
we come back to Sunnydale, and Xander and Willow and Oz are once again on the hunt for the vampire that got away the other night, but this time using Cordelia as bait. And everyone kind of assumes their hiding positions, and of course Xander and Cordelia start to argue over
Shit.
what they did or didn't do over summer, and who forgot who, and this and that. And of course their fight gets interrupted by Willow screaming as the vampire has snuck up and is attacking her.
But Xander's like he's just still arguing.
Right.
Even though she's being literally eaten alive. He's like, you fucking didn't call me also.
And Oz fucking shows up out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, he's
like
he's Batman.
He's there at the beginning of the scene, but then when they all go into their hiding places, he just like Seth Green disappears, and then all of a sudden he's just out of nowhere.
He's like, I am vengeance, and he lands on the fucking guy, and yeah.
Right. But the vampire knocks Oz to the ground, and Xander gives it a shot, and they end up kind of like locking arms, and Xander can't drive the stake any further into his chest, and
they're doing the Macarena at this point.
Right. And Cordelia comes up from behind the vampire and kind of pushes him, and all three of them topple over onto the ground, and as they fall,
all the clothes come off and they start. Well, I'm sorry, what?
And they just have a three-way right there.
Just have a three-way right on television.
Cordy's getting DP'd right there in the cemetery,
and it's like hardcore like photography.
Right
on the WB.
Right, full
close up.
We're not talking like Cinemax, Shannon Tweed type stuff. No. We're talking like orange YouTube type stuff here. Is what we're talking about.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's for primetime teen drama on basic cable. I'm not sure how they got away with this.
They're like spitting in each other's mouths and shit. I mean, it's gotten crazy.
or we could have been watching something completely different.
That's possible.
That's possible.
I usually have multiple windows open. What?
So as they topple, all three of them topple onto each over, of course the stake gets driven into the vampire. The vampire dusts. Cordy ends up falling on top of Xander, and they end up kissing, making out
passionately
right there. And then we cut back to LA in our we're in a prison cell in the factory, and what's happening there, Jeremy?
Well, we're not really in LA because we're cutting back to this fucked up.
Right.
They don't say, it's just a different dimension, put it that way.
Right.
I'll call it a hell dimension.
And this is actually, this is the scene where we find out that it's another dimension.
Yeah, that's true. The new slaves are being inducted, being told that they don't matter, and he makes them all say, I'm no one. And if someone, he says, who are you? And I'm no one.
Something that we should mention, because it explains why Ricky is old, is that
I forgot that.
Ken tells them that time works differently here.
Right.
One day in our reality is equal to 100 years in this dimension.
Right. So that's how. And when they get too old to work, which I'm like, they're not much of evil demons. Like you would think, well, they got too old to work, they would kill them.
Right.
No, they give them a bus pass and send them back to Earth, literally. Right. And I'm like, okay, but anyway. So there's this demon who's like, who are you? And this one guy says, I'm Johnny or whatever, and he just fucking smokes him in the head with this big stick. And then he's like, who are you? I'm no one. And then they get to Buffy and they say, who are you? And she says, what does she say? I didn't put down exactly what she said.
She says,
I'm Buffy.
I'm Buffy, the vampire slayer. And you are?
Yeah, and then of course, all hell breaks loose and a big fracas, and
This is only one of 2 times in the entire series that she refers to herself as Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
right. So there's this huge fight all throughout this factory, I guess you could call it, and all this shit, and then finally Ken has gotten a hold of Lily, and he's got a knife to her, and he's like, he launches into this big speech, and he's like, blah 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 blah, no one escapes, and yada yada, yada. And then all of a sudden Lily just shoves him, and he falls falls way down to the ground, and is just like mush. It's a great, it's so Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
Yeah.
And Buffy's just from down below. She's just like, oh, okay, well, that takes care of that.
Right. And again, just kind of the nonchalantness of it is what's so funny. Like Lily just nonchalantly pushes this guy to his death.
And he's in mid sentence. He's like, and I was what?
Right. And that alone is funny. But then on top of that, how the nonchalantness of Buffy realizing that this dude's dead now and then restarting the fight.
Right. So she finishes. They're housing some guards, and then she gets all the people together, and they go running, and they get past this big iron gate, and just then Ken actually catches up with them. So he's not dead, but he's pretty fucked up. And the gate falls though, and it fucking impales him by his legs, and he's like stuck there. And she grabs this. What was it? Is it like a bat or just this huge stick or something? Or
it's definitely a bat, but there's spikes, not nailed into it, but it looks like the spikes are molded into the bat.
Into the bat, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, hey Ken, because he's again he's impaled to the ground through his legs, and she's like, hey Ken, want to see my impersonation of Gandhi? And then she literally fucking Negans this guy. She she just bludgeons this fucking demon. You hear crunching and squirting and and he's just like, oh, please just kill me. And so she finishes him off, and Lily's like, Gandhi? And she's like, well, yeah, if he was really pissed. And everybody gets back up through that pool of goo, back to our dimension, our reality, and Lily's like, well, what do we do about that? Talking about the entrance to this shitty dimension, and it just disappears. And she's like, oh, okay, that'll handle that. So anyway, then we cut, I guess it's the next day, we cut back to the crack house where Buffy's been living, and she has gotten dressed into her Buffy clothes and has packed up, and she's apparently going to head back to Sunnydale to try to fix things there. And Lily's there, and she's going to let Lily take over her identity as Anne. And she's like, I also talked to whoever at Helen's Kitchen, and you can take my job there. And this place is paid up, I think she said, for 2 weeks. The apartment there.
3 weeks.
3 weeks, okay. And Lily, and yet still Lily is so fucking unthankful. She's like, I can't really take care of myself. And I wanted Buffy to be like, well, fuck, I'm not your fucking mom, okay? Fucking, I gave you an apartment for 3 weeks, a job, and an identity. What the fuck else do you, but
I'm not your mom, and I don't have a good mom, so I don't know how to be a mom.
Right. But Buffy, being nice and being Buffy, she says, well, it gets easier. In other words, sorry.
You can do it.
You can do it. And we cut back to Sunnydale, and we're at Buffy's house, and we hear a knock on the door, and Joyce opens the door, and it's Buffy. And Buffy immediately fucking punches her right in the fucking jaw. And you hear her jaw break, Joyce's. And credits. That's the end of the episode.
That is.
Actually, they hug, but same thing.
They do hug. It's a warm, lovely moment.
It is. It is warm. I don't know if it's lovely, but.
how about a little monsterology, Jeremy?
Okay, let's do that. What's our monster this week?
Uh, Nothing really.
Okay. Okay.
Though this whole underground labor camp is
Fucking
very well. It's stupid, but it's very reminiscent. It gives off a lot of communism at the height of the Cold War era vibes, like
well,
how Americans viewed Russia and communism, during the height of the Cold War era.
especially given the fact that there's a scene where when she's fighting, she has a sickle in one hand and a hammer in the other,
Yeah.
thus signifying the CCCP.
So yeah, that's it for monsterology. Nothing really. Our body count this week is 6.
Yeah, a lot of death.
A lot of death. As previously stated, our bronze band was Belly Love. Our music this week, Back to Freedom, performed by Belly Love from their self-titled album Belly Love, released by Bad Boy Kitty Records in 1998. And Deliverance, as composed by series composer Christoph Beck. Jeremy, why don't you give me your rating and final thoughts for this episode?
See, I went back and forth with this one on what to rate it. And I never did come to I always come to a hard conclusion and I write down my rating on my notes, but so this one I'm just going to call as it happens. I'm going to give this a 2.5.
2.5. Okay.
I figure, it's midway. I didn't hate it. I did not hate it, but there were definitely fucking parts that pissed me off, as we discussed, with Joyce's bitchism and Lily's bitchism and everything. And I felt for a season opener, it was kind of weak, the whole I said camp factory thing, like where the demons, that meant nothing because we don't even know what their nefarious plans are or were.
Right.
Why they had to have these people to do this work. And if they're so evil, why aren't they just offing these people when they get too old to work? Why would they just send them back? Like, okay, you're free now, we're benevolent demons. I don't know that. So that whole thing was just a plot hole, really, to me. So yeah, there were some great, hilarious lines. There were some great, hilarious moments, like, Lily shoving Ken off the pedestal there and everything in mid-sentence. So there were some great things in the episode, but I think overall, I'm taking my rating from the fact that I felt like I said, for a season opener, I just felt like it was pretty weak, or just kind of lackadaisical.
Right.
But it wasn't a bad episode by any stretch at all. I mean, we have seen some stinkers in this, especially season 1, but this wasn't a stinker. But it was just kind of not on my list of must-see Buffy episodes.
Right.
So yeah, I'll go with a 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah, James.
Yes, sir.
How many hammers and sickles do you give this episode? And tell us a little bit about your final thoughts.
I'm gonna go 2 on this one. And it's a lot of what you said. For better or worse, he who shall not be named is capable of putting out something much better than this. It was very lackluster as a season premiere. It especially, as you alluded to, we don't know what these demons' goal was. Like why are they making humans work this factory, for their entire lives and then just redepositing them back on the streets where they came from? what's the end goal, why, so there's that. It felt very much like a mid-season filler episode, as opposed to a season premiere. I get that there was probably a desire to not jump right into having Buffy back in Sunnydale, at the beginning of the season, and kind of wanting to show what she's gone through, over the summer while she was, after she ran away at the end of season 2 after becoming part 2. But and I'm not a writer or anything, so creatively I don't know how I would have done it better. But I feel like there were better ways that it could have been done than this episode. So
yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know how I would have done it better, but I'm sure I could have done it better.
Right.
I mean, they could have just thrown a line, maybe 2 lines, and at some point and been like, when Ken's explaining the whole other dimension and blah blah blah, he could have just had a couple of lines to explain why. You're like, and shit. I don't know what the fuck they had him doing, but
Right.
swinging and miss.
And the sickle like weapon that Buffy was fighting with that you keep alluding to is actually called a hungamunga.
Oh, okay. Well, hungamunga you too.
I think for my money, next week's episode, Dead Man's Party would have been a better season premiere.
Except for the fact that like 20 minutes of it just fucking pisses me off.
Right.
Which we will discuss in detail.
Right. But yeah, I still think that would have worked better as a season premiere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no problem with the setting or the fact that that we're dealing with Buffy in LA, still hiding out and whatnot. None of that. It's just the B plot was just weak.
Right. Right. It wasn't season. Like we said, it wasn't season premiere material.
Yeah. Like I would have been fine if there hadn't been a B plot. If it like there hadn't been.
Buffy is always going to be Buffy, regardless of where she's at or what the circumstances are. When push finally came to shove for her, she ended up being Buffy.
Yeah, the good guy. What's that? There's some saying, but basically, a good guy is always a good guy. No matter or when. So
right. So I did enjoy that. That is probably one of the better through lines of this episode, is that Buffy's always going to be Buffy. She's always going to be the hero, and she's always going to do the right thing. So, and that is that.
James.
Yes, sir.
I have an important question for you.
Okay.
Where can people follow us or find us on their interweb?
Well, Jeremy, if our listeners and viewers are so inclined, they can go to BuffyRevisited.com.
Okay.
And there they will find a link to our email address, which is BuffyRevisited@gmail.com. And they can email us directly to discuss Buffy or Angel, the series overall, specific episodes, and everything in between related to Buffy and the Buffyverse. We would love to hear from you. They will also find a link to our Facebook page.
They will not find a link to our Twitter because we do not have one.
Right. Did you remove the link?
Why do we not have one? No, I didn't. I better do that. Why do we not have a Twitter, James?
Because Elon Musk sucks.
Hashtag fuck Elon. Okay.
Yeah. So there'll be a link to our Facebook where they could go and leave us messages, comment on any of our posts, reach out to us that way. Again, we'd love to hear from you. So yeah.
All right. Well, next week we will be diving into season 3, episode 2, Dead Man's Party. And I can't wait because I have a lot to fucking say about that. So, James, any closing words? Any final thoughts?
No, just glad to be back. Glad to be back on this. Looking forward to the rest of the season. I feel like we said, I think we got a little bit of a dud to start off with here for season opener, but
all right. You said I'm one of your hosts, Jeremy.
I'm your host, James.
Ta-ta.